Okay, this is third trip to southern Utah. Private guiding trip, plus going to do some scouting. So heading down, it's midweek, which is nice, and going to the Moab area. Should be in Canyonlands and Arches tomorrow. Taking a guy around privately. Not super into hiking, so we're going to do more in the vehicle, see sights, go to out at Musselman Arch on the Schaefer Trail, and then we will probably head to Dead Horse Point after we go all through Canyonlands, then come in the back way on Willow Springs Road into Arches, do some time in Arches. Should be a full day, probably see some Native American rock art as well, and then when he leaves on Thursday, I'm going to head down into the Needles of Canyonlands for the night, and then do a hike there, and hopefully make it back to the office by Friday to check in before the weekend. So it should be really good. The national parks just opened last weekend, and it's Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday should be pretty good times in the parks in southern Utah, and probably pretty quiet. So leaving Sandy, Granite, Salt Lake, Utah right now. Should be heading to Moab for about 4 hours. I am going to stop by Sego Canyon on the way down there and check out some rock art that I've been wanting to scout out in a little ghost town from the mining days, coal mining they did there. So we'll check that out on the way down to Moab. Okay, I'm back in southern Utah, and I wanted to stop by today and visit Sego Canyon. It's this canyon kind of on the way down or out of Moab off I-70, and there is a number of rock art panels around here. It's a really beautiful spot. It's gorgeous out. It's a gorgeous day, and it's quite quiet here. There's nobody here, and it's got rock art petroglyphs, so ones that are pecked into the rocks, carved into the rock, from Paiute Indians, about 13 to 1600 AD. And then there's also pictographs here that we'll look around and find that are more from like the barrier people style, which are stained or painted onto the rock walls. So we're going to take a look around. It looks like a really cool spot. I'm looking forward to checking it out. It's really quiet here. It's a pretty interesting spot. Rocky cliffs here, and you can see some of the Native American writing over here. These look like petroglyphs that are up here on the wall. So some horses, some other people. Looks like a little graffiti, but let's see if we can get a little closer. And then there's a carving up there from 1884 as well. Gay Whipple, 1884. And then some of these like lines with the cross, the little dots on the edge. Maybe what looks like some bighorn sheep. And then the linebacker style, the big shoulders, narrow waist, with no arms, no feet, no legs, and then a couple other ones. Really cool though. Okay, and over here we've got a really good panel of what would be the barrier style pictographs. Look at these. Really, really good. Okay, this signboard's a little better. It's saying that look at these. Barrier Canyon style. The archaic people produce some of the most spectacular rock art in the American Southwest. The style is called Barrier Canyon, after a rock art site along Barrier Creek and Horseshoe Canyon, which is over in Canyonlands National Park on the west side, which is the Maze District. and also, barrier style art in the Great Gallery over there. The barrier style canyon is typified by painting figures, pictographs, which are the stained on figures painted of larger than life human-like forms. These ghost-like figures often have hollowed out eyes or missing eyes, horns or antennas, and missing arms and legs. They are often painted red and have decorative body. Barrier canyon style rock art is found on the canyon walls of the northern Colorado Plateau and in southeastern Utah, which is where we are. The main Barrier Canyon style rock art panel at Sego Canyon contains 19 red paintings which are larger than life size. They have bug eyes, antenna, earrings, snake in hand, and legless torsos. These mysterious pictographs are archaeological treasures and incredible works of art. There is an additional Barrier Canyon style site 1/10 of a mile past the main group of figures here. So these are those, and we can see the snake in hand here, snake in hand over here. See, I'll let that focus. And larger than life size, although we're quite a ways away. They're really big in size. Hollowed out eyes, so they don't have they have eyeballs that are just like sockets in their head here and here, and stained onto the wall. Amazing artwork. This stuff can be up to 4,000, 6,000 years old. Okay, so just a good little stop. I mean, it's all around here, and to think of these different generations from Fremont Indians, this Fremont Indian petroglyph style, 1600, 1200 AD up to 600 AD. And then you have the Barrier Canyon style right over here, this other art panel. And the Barrier Canyon style, 4000 AD, 6000 AD. They don't really know a lot, obviously, so old, there's no written record, there's no historical type records or no generations of them passing on. When these people and cultures, civilizations vanished, they pretty much, they were done, and they left their artwork behind. That's about it. So a really neat stop, an easy side stop if you know where to go. Down here in southern Utah, we usually hit this spot on the way home from the end of our trips in Moab, where we're driving back to Salt Lake City, and just a little ways off the road, a couple little, a few miles here and there, and we're right up in here, drive right to it. So a really neat spot and a really neat place to come explore. Just another great reason to come to southern Utah. And you have hiking and national parks and state parks, of course, and these huge western vistas. But then you also have this rock art, and all over the walls in different areas if you know where to go. And then of course you have Dinosaur Tracks, and you just have a lot of exploring to do. It's just such a fantastic variety of interesting, physically active, as much as you want to be, but also just absolutely interesting, to say the least, and seeing these different areas and exploring these different ancient sites. Yep, sacred images. They're all around here in southern Utah. Okay. This is the cemetery of this little ghost town. Another interesting site. Kind of eerie. Cross right there. Couple flags on some stones from who knows who. So there's a little mining town up here. It's now a ghost town. Obviously guys died in the mines. And if there was a town, I'm sure, in the day, that's what happened. Some look a little newer than others. But cemetery from, this little Mining ghost town in Sego Canyon. Okay, this is the ghost town. There's not much of it here, but there was a coal mine here. And over here, they're saying that this was the boarding house. So everybody stayed. But this thing fell down, I think, about 10 years ago. It was still standing, I guess. Looks like a car. Probably, it looks like 40s, from the 40s maybe. It's a little beat up. But yeah, coal mine straight up there. Came down. Miners, boarding house. General store over here. Who knows what other was going on around here. I'm sure these canyon walls could talk. They'd have something to say. They definitely had a little town up here. And cemetery we saw. And then this 5-mile railroad stretch that just spurred off the main tracks, running east to west, kind of along what is now I-70, 5 miles up into the canyon, get the coal, back down to the rail line. And the rail cars picked them up, and they ran those trains on coal. Interesting little side trip, kind of cool, here in southern Utah. Native American rock art, 4,000 years old, 1,000, 1,500 years old, petroglyphs, pictographs, and this cool little ghost town up here. Now we'll head to Moab.